real quick, we do want to hit the special teams for this year. Not a whole lot to say about this because I think it's going to be pretty straightforward. We do have Jackson Ross going to be your returning punter, and Jackson Ross is a dynamic athlete as well. I know Tennessee is not Shane Beamer's South Carolina crew. They're not going to pull out all these trick plays and stuff like that. But because of the athlete that Jackson Ross is, I would not be surprised if you see him take off and run or throw a pass downfield on a fake punt at some point. He's known to have a very strong arm. I think last year he was like third on the team as far as arm strength. Of course, you're not going to beat Joe Milton. I think last year they even said he had a better arm as far as strength wise than Nico did. Yeah. I mean, he's got a fantastic.
Well, he was always joking about having a stronger arm than Josh Heupel in the preseason. So that was kind of fun to see.
Yeah, but he's a fantastic athlete. We don't really know as far as place kicker who that's going to be, but we're pretty sure it's Josh Turbeville. He was the guy that came in after Chase McGrath, or sorry, not Chase McGrath. That was 2 years ago. Who was the Indiana transfer from last year? That was Campbell. Was that his last name?
I think so. Yeah. God, I can't remember. But
I can't remember his first.
Sorry, I was so distracted by every single extra point. We had an injured offensive lineman for some reason, and I hope that changes. I don't know if that should be in this preview, but I mean, we're doing special teams. But my God, dude, if we have another injured offensive lineman after a freaking extra point, I might lose my crap. And the season hasn't even started. But I wonder. I haven't seen any camp like preview or intel, but like I wonder if they're practicing that right now. I want to know how many guys went down after an extra point. It's beyond me. I don't know what they get out of it. They're already going to probably a commercial timeout. It just eats in my bones, but I whatever. Anyways, if they're seriously hurt, I feel really bad about everything I just said, by the way. But it's just kind of shady that it felt like it's after every single extra point.
Oh, I've definitely got conspiracy theories about that. But yeah.
Okay.
Josh Turbeville, I believe, is going to be your place kicker for this year. Returners. I think Boo Carter will be your main punt returner and probably going to be on kickoff returns. Who do you think?
Boo Carter, I think, is an easy one. I think you're going to see Squirrel actually return a little bit. Either way, I am excited to see who is the actual go-to on the returner because I want to see who replaces D. Williams. D. Williams was the closest guy I could remember to kind of like the Evan Berry guy. Anytime he got the ball in his hands, you just felt like it could go. And I want to continue to have that feeling. Our special teams, that's such an underrated unit for our team. And it just capitalizes that much more on the whole, defense feeds the offense. And when you have a special teams player that can kind of be that electric igniter, so to speak, for the offense to really flip the momentum in a game, especially on a road. Let's talk about Oklahoma, man. If it's just a dogfight, it's 3-3 after the first quarter, and we get a massive stop on defense, and then you got a guy like D. Williams, or not D. Williams, obviously, but if it's Squirrel White or Boo Carter that takes a punt 40 yards, and now you're set up at the 30-yard line, and you're already in field goal position. I mean, it's just something like that could really flip a game in a heartbeat.
And here's why I think Boo Carter. He was an athlete. He was recruited as an athlete coming out of high school. Absolutely could have been a running back or a wide receiver on this Tennessee team, but because of the depth at those positions, he was probably going to be better suited for defense, which he also played in high school and was very highly recruited because of his defense. But I think because of his background on the offensive side of the ball, I think that he can be a very good returner for this team. I mean, in high school, it was like every time he touched the ball on offense, something special was happening, whether it be a big play or whether it be a touchdown. And I think Boo Carter will be that guy. A third guy I want to mention, but I don't see him as much returning just because of what he's going to do on the offensive side of the ball, Dylan Sampson. I think you could also see him, especially on kickoff returns. You got two guys deep. I think he could be one of those. But, you mentioned what special teams could do for a ball game. Let's look at Texas A&M last year. Mm-hmm. You had I'm
glad you brought that up.
Yeah, you had Jackson Ross with a fantastic punt that D. Williams gets and pins down at the 1 yard line. Texas A&M goes 3 and out, And then D. Williams takes that punt and returns it for a touchdown that ended up being the game-winning touchdown in the game. That's what special teams can do for you. Like you said, very underrated part of a team, but it's an important part of the team as well. Something that can absolutely win and lose you a game.
It was Charles Kemper, by the way, so good memory on that. For the place kicker for last year. I was just kind of flipping through to kind of see if I could get an idea of who else could kind of be a returner. But you look at a guy that obviously it's got to be a position where you got depth.
Yep.
And that's why I mentioned a guy like Squirrel White, because when you put a guy in a position to get hit the way they do when they return a ball, you got to make sure you can replace him. That's why it's kind of hard for them to play a starter, which may be why Squirrel White won't be that guy. But then again, I think Boo Carter is going to be utilized pretty heavily on the defense as well. But like I said, wide receiver we're pretty stacked at, I think, in my opinion. I mean, we have a couple guys that played a hefty amount last year that probably won't even see the field this year just because of the talent that we've obtained and gotten back from injury. Let's see. Tuberville gained 17 pounds since last year as a friggin' kicker. Well, I mean, let's talk about kicker, all right, because Skeeter is going to love talking about kickers and thicker kickers.
Yep.
Because they have a guy that was like 220. I don't know.
He's probably more than that in Harrison Mevis.
The thicker kicker. I mean, literally the guys had permission to call him that, which I thought was kind of wild. But, yeah, I mean, look. A little bit of juice in that booty, get that ball across. Look, I'm just saying, it did beat Kansas State with that leg. He had an insane kick. What was that, like a 62-yarder in college?
I think it was listed at 63 is what it ended up being. But he was 5'11", 243 is what Harrison Mevis listed in at last year at Missouri.
Yep. Jackson Ross will be the punter. So you're right on that one as well. Couldn't really find anybody on returns, but we'll figure it out. We will figure that out. But either way, you can definitely expect it to be just as electric as it was last year. And I'm kind of excited about that. But I think for sure this year, you're going to have a returner that's going to be touching the ball somewhere.